This video is specifically designed for the students in my kids' classes who want to get their black belt before they graduate high school, and their parents. So you guys can be informed to know what that takes. I don't hand out black belts, and I don't make compromises. I'm not willing to promise someone a black belt just to convince them to stay. I'd rather protect the integrity of what a black belt means in this dojo. That being said, we've got some requirements, right? We require that you be at certain belts for a certain length of time. I know other styles and dojos do it differently. That's how we do it. And we also have age restrictions, right? You cannot be a brown belt until you are 13. You can't be a black belt until you are 14. And the reason I'm addressing this specifically to the students of mine who want to get their black belt before they graduate, right? Why did I choose that group to make this video for? My assumption by default, unless you tell me otherwise, is that if you're walking into a karate dojo, you are somebody who would like at some point or another to have a black belt around your waist. You would like to have earned a black belt in karate. Now, the reason that I say, for all the people that want to get it before they graduate senior year, graduation's a time of huge life shifts. And I've just found in my experience that it's helpful to shoot for that as a goal before graduation, because so often after graduation, people go away to different colleges and they can no longer train, at least not in our system anymore, because we're a small system. We only have one school right now. I have this huge drive. I assume you want this. I'm going to try and push you to get there, right? I'm not going to carry you there, but I will push you to go the distance before you graduate. But basically, that means there's this window of time between you turning 14 years old and you graduating high school, right? 4 years, give or take. That's not an insanely tight window, but it is tighter than some people think. I crunched a ton of numbers over the last few days, and I'm not the best mathematician by a long shot, but I do know karate really well. I really do know. I have a really good grasp of how long it takes to get belts. And in our system, it takes an absolute minimum of 32 months to go from white belt to black belt. 32 months. That means if you were to start in April of 2030, right, it would be October of 2032 would be the earliest you could test for your black belt. Now, black belt tests are huge events. They are extremely demanding to facilitate and to plan and to execute. So we only do them twice a year. That is our plan. I never envision going more than twice a year. I want these to be like a big event. And the best time of year tends to be April and October, give or take a month. Sometimes we may do a March test, sometimes a May test, sometimes September, sometimes November. On average, October or April. So let's say you want to aim for that senior springtime test, as late as you can go before you graduate, right? But let's say you want it before you graduate. The latest you can start karate with that minimum timeline is, let me see here, October of sophomore year is the absolute latest that you can get your white belt. And that means every single month that you are eligible after that, you have to get your belt. You can't miss any tests. You can't be sick for any tests. It's got to be a perfect run. That's phenomenally demanding. I've never seen anybody do it. I've seen people who have done it with only 1 or 2 months where they haven't been promoted where they could, but even that's phenomenally rare. I don't expect to see that more than a couple times in my lifetime. And I personally don't ever expect anyone to do the full-on speed run. I don't think there's a healthy way to do that. Now, we're a new dojo and we are a newish curriculum, but I adapted my style from a style I did growing up called Shintoshi. And there are enough similarities that I can make an educated guess, a very educated guess. And after crunching through some numbers, I came up with, I suspect our average for going from white to black belt in this dojo is probably going to be around 7.5 years, maybe closer to 7. My old dojo was 6.5 years to black belt. They would advertise 3 to 5 because, people would hear 6.5. If they heard 6.5, Sensei was like, they won't sign up because that takes so long. But I think it adds to the coolness and the awesome factor if it takes a long time to get this, right? So if you want to go at the exact average pace, which it's 7 years and 8 months is what I came out with my numbers, you would need to start by May of 8th grade to go on average pace. Now it's not just 7 years and 7.5 years, right? That's not doctrine. There's plenty of wiggle room, right? And it's pretty big wiggle room. What I consider, that's average, but then there's average, and then there's what I consider to be normal. And there's a lot more room in what I consider to be, this is still a normal time in which to get a black belt, right? Normal, super fast people over here, people who need a little bit more time and need to demonstrate some extra endurance and perseverance. But we've got the norm here. And the norm is anywhere from 5 years to 10.5 years is the range I'm looking at, right? If you fall within that, that's actually relatively normal as far as the overall averages. And some people are like, really? That seems like a long time. That's probably not going to be the average for adults. But that is our average, factoring in all of the kids that start when they are 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And they're going to take a little longer because just the bare minimum age, they can't get their black belt till they're 14. Why am I bringing this up? That's such a good question. We have some teens right now. I was expressing a concern to Sensei Allred, and she said I should make a video about it. We have some teens right now that I don't think realize how small of wiggle room they have. Let me walk you through it. If you want to hit that April of senior year black belt test, it means you need to be a red belt in our style by October of junior year, and you need to be a green belt by March of sophomore year. That's if you want no room for error beyond green belt, right? You have to have a perfect run past green belt. And there are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That leaves you 6 belts to go till black. 6 belts where you cannot mess up. You have to test exactly on specific months and have a perfect run, right? If you want it October of senior year, then you need to be a red belt by April of sophomore year and a green belt by September of sophomore year, etc. Right? And this goes on and on and on. Basically, right, there's that 4-year gap where you're old enough to be a black belt and you haven't graduated high school yet. And so we know you're probably sticking around the same town and you're not going off to college. And by the way, it's not the end of the world if you don't get it when you graduate high school. People leave and go to college and then sometimes come back and get their black belt, or they just move on and do other awesome things with their lives. It's not the end of the world. You're not a bad person if you don't get it. But for those who want to, I want you to be aware of what it takes, right? So if you want to be smack average, it means if you want to go the exact average speed and you want to be the average kid in class, you need to start in May of 8th grade. If you start later than that, average is not acceptable. So I wrote down that there are basically 8 tests you can theoretically hit in high school with the age requirements. October of freshman year, April of freshman year, 2 in sophomore year, 2 in junior year, 2 in senior year. If it were me, I would want to maximize and be like, I want as much cushion as possible. Because what if I get sick or injured right before my black belt test? I want to make sure that there's as much cushion as possible. If it were me, I would be like, I want to shoot for sophomore or junior year getting my black belt. Let's just go on the April ones. So if you want to get your black belt, April of freshman year, that leaves you with 6 different options to test. If you don't hit that goal, that leaves you with 6 different options before graduation. April of freshman year requires you be a red belt by October of your 5th grade year. That is very demanding. And it requires you be a green belt by March of your 4th grade year, which would put you well above average. You would be crazy above average. If you want to shoot for April of sophomore year, which would leave you with 4 more tests after that you can play around with, so that if you miss it, you don't have to have a perfect run. But if you're going for April, sophomore year, you need your red belt by October of 7th grade, and you need your green belt by March of 6th grade. Now, why do I use red belt and green belt? Because green belt is the beginning of the intermediate ranks, red belt is the beginning of advanced ranks. If you want to go for April of your junior year, you need to be a red belt by October of freshman year to have an April junior black belt test. And you need to be a green belt by March of your 8th grade year. And for April of your senior year, you need to be a red belt by October of your junior year, and you need to be a green belt by March of your September year. I think I might have already mentioned that. This is such a long video. So basically, we have some students right now, and I don't blame them. You're teenagers, right? You want to have fun, you want to have a good time, you want to be casual. I think black belt is a goal worth shooting for, and I hope you do too. And you need to understand, if you're a freshman or higher, and we're a new dojo, so we don't have anyone above green belt. If you're a freshman or higher, average is not going to get you to black belt by the time you graduate. It will not. You have to be above average. And well above average, because the average person doesn't get a black belt. So it's not even like, oh, you have to be more than the average person. Average person doesn't train. Average person doesn't do any kind of martial arts. Average person doesn't get to green belt, much less black, right? Average person doesn't ever walk into a martial arts school to try a class, right? So I'm not even saying, oh, you have to be way above them. You have to be better than even the people who are the ones walking into martial arts schools and are going all the way to black belt. You have to be above that. If that is not a goal you care about, that is 100% okay. I am working under the assumption that it is, because for most people, they want a black belt, and most people are planning to move out of town after graduation. Maybe that's changing more and more with the changing times, but back in my day, that's how it was. You basically just assumed you're going to scatter like the winds, right? Never assume someone's going to stick around after high school is kind of my philosophy. And for that reason, that's why I'm pushing my teens so much right now. And I'm going to send this video out to my teens and to the parents, particularly all of my teens that are 13 and older, because I want you to have realistic expectations. And also, I want you to be aware that you may not have as many buffer months is what I call them, as you may think, right? A buffer month meaning, oh, I could test for blue belt in March, but I got sick in March, so I'm testing in April instead, right? March was a buffer month. You used up a buffer. But if you use that over and over and over and over, it's no good. And especially if you're like, I'm creating buffer months because I'm being lazy and I'm not coming to class and I'm not paying attention in class, I'm not locking in during class, then we get into then you've already used a bunch of buffer months. So when you do get sick or something and you can't test, you've already used up 7, 8 buffer months, whatever it is, because you've just been goofing off. And golly, please ask questions in the comments. I have so many more notes, but this video is already so terribly long. So I beg you, ask questions in the comments. If you're my student, come and ask me. Come talk to me. Come say, hey, am I on track? What can I be doing to be better? How can I do better at locking in? If you're a parent, you can shoot me a text. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Watch as I get copyright struck by Disney Channel for that one. All right, I'm signing off. See you guys.